There we go.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Amin, our treasurer's report.
Treasury bill balance is $6,035.51. We have paid we made several payments this month, our usual payments, but unfortunately we are not in good standing because we have a unauthorized purchase on our phone bill underneath our communications bill. We cannot pay that bill until we get the proper receipts for it and get authorization for that bill. So,
Commissioner,
Coming in and out. I'm so sorry, and I could barely hear.
you can hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry. I missed information along the way. I apologize.
and
No worries.
Commissioner, can you please unmute Colleen? For some reason, she is also not able to unmute herself. I think the permissions might be changed.
I think she should be fine. Could you try Commissioner Costello? Is it still? Okay.
Okay, look, I called in on
There we
my
go.
phone, so no, I'm not doing this on my computer. I'm going to speak via my phone. You'll still see me on the video, and we're just going to do it this way since we seem to have some trouble with the mute button. But I'm sorry that I missed whatever we were voting on earlier.
The minute.
As it turns out, my computer decided to freeze up on me at the worst possible moment. So I love WebEx. Just want to put that on the record.
Commissioner, I mean, if we might just quickly on two things. On the treasurer's report. The first is just wanted to bring it forward to the committee. So we are currently, this is more of an FYI, we are currently still, Commissioner Henry McKembe still has our WordPress charges coming on his credit card at the amount of $35 a month. So I know we had discussed switching to Squarespace. I move that we do that before the next billing cycle on May 11th. The Squarespace fees are $16 a month when paid annually, so it'll be a pretty significant cost saving. So unless there is any concerns about it, I will move forward to do that, and I can put it on my personal credit card for reimbursement, but want to make sure that I'm bringing all expenses in front of the body. So if anyone has concerns, please let me know before I do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that was discussed. It was discussed several times. Once when Commissioner McKembe was leaving the commission, so we knew that we were going to have to get a new provider of our service. But like I said, until we can straighten out these other issues, we can't put any more purchases, and we have to get this back to Cal to have a discussion and vote on it. Even this new internet provider service a new service that we're talking about.
Okay. And Commissioner, I mean, I think if you had said something previously, it did not come through. So I got part of the total balance and then kind of nothing after that.
Okay, so let's try that again. Our available balance as of date is $6,035.51.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Higgins, can you hear me okay?
Yes. But you had said something in reference to a unauthorized charge. So I think okay.
Yes, exactly, commissioners. Yeah, we have and Commissioner Piquera and we looked into this, but we have an unauthorized purchase on our Sprint T-Mobile bill that the commission has not approved, and that particular purchase, nor have we seen any invoices for it. That particular purchase will have us exceed our communication budget for fiscal year 2021. So it's never been presented in front of the commission, and for discussion, and it will have us go over. So we need to go back and revisit where that came from.
Okay,
If you don't
so-
mind me asking, Commissioner, is that the phone that I purchased?
Yes, it is.
And I believe before I made that purchase, I did bring that up, and I think something was going on with your coming in and out of the meeting at the time. But I did bring that up, and when Commissioner Higgins asked me about it, and I said, well, I wanted to bring it up before the commission because that's what I need to do before I even make that purchase.
I agree. And I think that Commissioner Curley, as someone that just went through, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, Commissioner Curley, as someone that just watched back the March meeting recording to capture the very detailed notes, it is in the March minutes when you mentioned that you had made a purchase. However, according to the Sprint account, the actual purchase was made 2 weeks prior to you bringing it up at that meeting.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
So that's going to be a concern.
no, but I think it's a couple of things that we need to actually, just for the record, who authorized the charge with Sprint, and where did the merchandise go? Because did you sign for Commissioner Amin? Because I did not.
No, it was delivered and picked up from our office on March 5th.
And who was that addressed to?
It was addressed to you, Chair Higgins.
Yeah, and just to be clear for the record, Commissioner Carley, was this a Samsung Galaxy 5G 21S, so the new $833 phone?
At that time, it was, and I think I discussed that it was a $33 phone, and it had something to do with the contract. And that was one of the things that I was trying to discuss at that time when I even brought it up about getting a phone, and I was given the information to contact them to order the phone online.
Correct, but the $50 is $33 a month over the 2 years. So it is an $833 phone.
Right. And I brought that
Okay.
up.
Compared to the $200 phone that we have less than $200 phone that we have normally used. So this is certainly beyond.
That was the only phone that I saw on there that belonged to Sprint, because they had T-Mobile and Sprint. And if I remember correctly, I think Commissioner Higgins also said, well, then you would just pay on that phone and get reimbursed monthly until it got to a point where it was what she thought was reasonable to go ahead and outright purchase.
But just to be clear, I don't think anyone has known, we were never given the $130 fee.
We were never given an invoice. We didn't even know the cost of the phone. Because as we have done in the past, we have ordered phones and we have all agreed on the phones, and we have brought it before the commission that we were ordering a phone, how much it would cost, and we then made the purchase. But it's a couple of things that I'm having an issue with. One is that it was done in my name. Two, it's $600 and some more than we would normally purchase a phone for, because they do have specials. And even after the phone had been purchased, we still have not received the old phone, in which you still have in your possession.
I still have it.
Nor have we received any invoices or anything showing us the cost of the phone and the approval process. So that is a big issue. And not only that, it has taken us over our line item in our budget for the ANC as a whole.
Okay, so I think this, started when I sent an email to you and the commission saying, I need a phone. So if we should have gone a different route other than you giving me that information, I think that should have been stipulated at that time.
No, I believe that that can be all that you're saying, but it's a conflict of interest. One, when it's in my name, that's an issue right there. The second is we never received an invoice. You never came back to the commission and said, hey, I talked to the representative. I found a phone. This is the amount that the phone costs. And can I proceed in purchasing this phone? That's where the issue lies.
The issue, wait a minute, I could not, I think I spoke to, go ahead.
Just let me finish my thought.
Okay, go ahead.
So therefore, with this process, the onus comes on the person whose name it was in. And if it did come in my name, we can even go a little further with that, then that means that you picked up a package that wasn't yours. It had Ursula Higgins on it. So Ursula Higgins should have picked up that package. So, you know, we can further discuss this in our COW meeting, which is fine. But if you want to continue with the conversation now, please, you have the floor.
Of course. I mean, if we were going to do this at the COW meeting, we should have. But my point is, when I contacted you and the commission, I said, I need a phone. You gave me that information, and I tried to contact the representative. I got back with you, and I said, I cannot speak with the representative because she needs a password. I do not have that. So I came back to the commission at every phase, at every step along the way. Even when I could not even go online and get anything, I said, I can't do it because I don't have the email. So if there's going to be only specific people who's allowed to do this, then instead of giving me that information, then that's the process it should have went to, not wait until after the fact, after you give me this information with your name on it. And that's never going to change no matter who orders the phone. It is going to come in your name, but you knew that. So it wasn't like, you know what, oh my God, I'm going to order this phone. It's going to come in Commissioner Higgins' name, and I'm going to open it, although, you know, I ordered it.
That has nothing to do with you still not sharing the information of how much that phone costs, of not sending us the invoice. To date, we have still not received the invoice.
Commissioner Higgins, I have not received.
We still have not received the phone.
Commissioner Higgins, nothing is in my name. Everything.
Nothing in my name.
Oh, let me finish. Everything that's coming is even coming to Commissioner Procurator's email, or it's coming to the ANC office. It is not coming to me, so I have no idea either.
But Commissioner, you did know the dollar amount. You did know that. I think the crux of this here is you bought an $833 phone. I'm on the Sprint website right now. This is the third most expensive phone that exists with Sprint. The other two that are more expensive is the exact same phone, but with more storage. And I'm counting 11 options that are under $200 available on Sprint right now. So I think the point is we can table this and talk about it more in COW.
I think we can table this and talk about it, because once again, if it was going to be anything different, if there was any minimum, if there was any rules or guidelines, then those should be stipulated before when you give up that information, say contact Sprint.
That's fair. I just don't think that any of us expected a commissioner to spend $833.
Well, you know what? You can make it out to be that, but that's not what it is. Especially when they're sitting up here saying, you know what? That's not how much the phone costs if you go under a contract and if you pay $33 a month. So that's totally different. That on the website does not necessarily mean that's the outright cost of it.
But it is. I mean, that's the
you can't say that. And I think I brought that up at the last meeting when I said, you know what, they told me to pay $33 a month. It was a contract that comes with it. And anybody knows that there's any type of contract with it, it is not the cost of what that is displayed. So I'm done with that.
Commissioner, that is,
you like to have the last word, but I'm done with that.
We are.
But you're not being charged $33 a month. Like you told us that you would be charged. ANC 5B. Could you mute her, please?
Done. I just would make the point that we are leased per the contract, and I'm happy to make this public. But the contract is for 2 months or 2 years. So if we ended it earlier, we would still be holding to the $833. But I think in honoring our constituents' time, I've seen lots of conversation chat. You all are right. We should be taking this offline. And so we're going to do that now. So we will discuss this at our COW and we will go from there. So thank you very much. And let's move on.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I mean, is that the end of your treasurer's report?
It's the end of the report, but it's definitely not the end of this conversation, because we're going to be out of compliance by the end of the month.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys. I understand your frustration, but unfortunately, in order for any of this information to be on the record, it has to be done before the public. So my apologies in that area. And I thank you so much for your patience. At this
Commissioner
time,
Higgins,
yes.
Commissioner Higgins, I'm sorry. I've been really quiet during this whole
Is this Commissioner
discussion.
Costello?
Yeah, it's me.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to note, since this is for the public record, I don't recall ever seeing any communication about purchasing a new phone. I think if I recall correctly, the only communications I received were for repairing a phone or finding out whether we had insurance to cover our phones. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we will have MPD come on and give us our community report. And I think we have 5B04. We have two stations coming on, correct? So we can go ahead with MPD and you guys can determine who goes first.
Hello, good evening. My name is Lieutenant Lee. I'm a PSA 504 lieutenant. But I believe that also we're hosting 503, so I'll be representing the 5th District in regards to both reports. I'm going to start with PSA 503. There was a homicide at the 1800 block of 24th Street earlier this month. That case is still open. We've had, in PSA 503, there's been 4 assault with a dangerous weapon, 2 involving a gun, 1 involving a knife, and that led to an arrest. In regards to robberies, there have been 3 robberies for the month, 2 of which involved a weapon. There's been 1 armed carjacking that occurred in the 26th Street Northeast. We've had 2 burglaries of an establishment. 1 has led to an arrest. Thus far, we've had 5 motor vehicle thefts in PSA 503. In looking at pretty much what involved, many of it were vehicles running unattended. That means the keys were left in ignition. As far as the theft remodels, we've had 23 thus far. In looking at the report, a little bit more detail, it's pretty much valuables such as backpacks, purses being left in the vehicle. Theft remodels are crime of opportunities. So unfortunately, I guess the suspects see the valuable contents and break into vehicles. As far as notable arrests, we've had a few weapon recoveries and also an arrest in reference to a stolen vehicle. In regards to the 504 report, we've had 1 robbery, force, and violence that led to an arrest that occurred on the 2800 block of 12th Street. We had an assault with intent to rob, which also led with an arrest. We've had 2 burglaries of an establishment, 3 vehicle thefts. Once again, it's vehicles running unattended. The keys are left in the ignition. People pretty much are delivering food and just leave their vehicles unattended. We've had 16 theft remodels. And looking at the report, it's valuable being left in the cars, such as backpacks, computers, purses. Notable arrests, there was an arrest regarding a homicide that occurred in January of this year. We had, as previously mentioned, we had a robbery arrest and an assault with intent to rob arrest. The officers have also made several weapon recoveries and arrests in reference to drug offenses. In regards to PSA 503, we've increased patrol in the Fort Lincoln area along with the Arboretum. In 504, along the 12th Street corridor, we have officers paying special attention and increased patrols in that area as well. Does anyone have any questions?
You, Lieutenant Lee, how are you? It's good to see you again. I do have a comment and a question actually. I got I got from Commander Fitzgerald that there was a major arrest about the crime spree that has been going on in Brooklyn. The armed robberies that the residents of Brooklyn have been experiencing over since the pandemic, and that our MPD just made a major arrest about that. Could you give us a little bit more detail about that? Because I think this is really good news.
Yes. So there was an arrest in reference to 6 juveniles that approached a complainant and tried to rob their property. Then there was also an individual, let me just look for that little pamphlet, who was involved in 2 robbery, force, and violences in Rhode Island Avenue, and he was pretty much apprehended in regards to that. Along with another where a suspect approached a complainant and grabbed a wallet into his jacket pocket, and he was apprehended. A juvenile was apprehended in reference to that as well.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you for all that you do.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming in and giving us the report. Does any of the commissioners have questions for Officer Lee? Okay, thank you. We really appreciate you joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
You too. Thank
All
you.
right. So at this time, we will have Ms. Butler from the mayor's office come on and join us and give us the mayor's constituent report.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, good evening. Thank you all so much for inviting me. I apologize for the background noise. I was actually just leaving another meeting. But really quick for the updates in the mayor's office, as you guys know, this Saturday, May 1st, is our Community Corp Day of Action. We encourage all of our Ward 5 residents to come out and help us get everyone vaccinated. We will have walk-up sites ready and available to vaccinate our residents. The 2 walk-up sites in Ward 5 will be Turkey Thicket and Langdon Recreation Center, and we are calling for you all to help us knock on doors and to act as volunteers to get our unvaccinated neighbors out on Saturday to get vaccinated. My second announcement is May 21st, which is a Friday, is our citywide Bike to Work Day. It is the city's first initiative to get people back to work into the office. So if you work a job and they're asking you to come into the office, we are encouraging you to bike to work and to leave your cars parked at home. This is to encourage physical fitness, and it's also to encourage us to be more mindful of our environment and the pollutants that we put in the air. If you're interested in participating, the website is biketoworkmetrodc.org, and I will drop that in the chat. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to keep my updates brief, and I'll put them in the chat tonight. Thank you so much, commissioners. I'm going to mute myself.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Ms. Butler. That was quick. All right, so at this time, is Ms. Cicelo? Oh, there you go. Ms. Cicelo from Councilman McDuffie's office. You have the floor.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I too will be quick. It's a very nice evening, so I know everybody wants to be outside. Just a couple of updates. The budget season is underway. We are awaiting the mayor's budget, and we have a draft of a final budget schedule for the hearings. It'll get approved by the council next week, and once that's finally approved, then I will send that out to all the ANC and civic leads, and you guys can send it out, and hopefully people can sign up for budget hearings. And then also, if anybody has any unemployment insurance issues, you can reach out to our office. You can email me. I'll put my info in the chat, and we can help escalate. And if anybody has any vaccination issues, please reach out to us, and we can share with the Department of Health and try to get things rectified. And then I know I've met with many of you over the past week or two. So if anybody has any issues, I'll take them here.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, I had contacted the council member's office a couple times. He was advocating a particular piece of legislation about the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program and eligibility for retirement. And I've gotten like one email about it, but I never got an answer about what the status of that legislation is. Do you know anything about it?
I don't. Let me look into that, Guy. Let me see.
Basically, he was going to propose that people who were part of the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program get credit towards DC employment retirement benefits, which I thought was a great idea, but I just never heard what happened to that legislation.
Yeah, I have to ask. I don't know. Do you know when that was? Guy, do you know when that was proposed?
It's been months and months, and it's been so
Oh,
long.
in the last year? In the
I think,
last year?
yeah, I think he proposed it last fall,
Okay.
but I haven't heard whatever happened to the legislation.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go to Alicia DeFazio as our committee director. I will ask her. Yep.
Hello, my name is Christy. And
Yes, Christy.
hi, I tried to submit a testimony for a hearing, and I went on the Councilmember McDuffie's website, but I could not, I did not hear back. And then when I actually called directly the number, my neighbors have been doing a lot of like changing of phone lines. Like it's really weird. Like I'll call the number and then somebody else will pick up the phone. Is there a way I can have a number for you to call you directly rather than sending an email? Because when I send an email, it's not going through. I'm not getting the response.
For testimony, it should go through Alicia DeFazio, our committee director. But if you want to drop your info in the chat, I can connect you. And you can certainly, I'll put my phone number in there. You can certainly call me anytime. I just
That would be
can't,
great.
I
Yeah,
can't
no,
take
if
your
you,
testimony. That's all.
no,
Yeah.
that's okay. If for some
Okay.
reason I send an email and if she doesn't receive it, I can call you just to confirm. Is that
Oh, sure.
okay? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. I'll put my
Okay.
info in the chat.
All
Yep.
right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Cicelo? All right. Thank you, Ms. Cicelo. We really
You're welcome.
appreciate you coming and giving us that update. Thank you.
Welcome.
At this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to our host commissioner, Commissioner Carly. You have the floor.
It is hot.
Commissioner Carly? Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, so in looking at the agenda, so we can continue to move on, and thank you everyone for respecting the time so that we can get through this meeting in a timely manner. And the next guest we have up is from the Army National Guard, and Capitol Guardian Youth Challenge is what he's going to speak on tonight. And his name is Gerard Whalen. We spoke earlier. Are you there?
Mom, you want the air on? Sorry.
Are you there? Preston, is he there?
Yeah, he's there. I see him, but I don't hear him saying anything.
Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go.
Okay, now, hi, how are you? Nice
Hi,
to put a face with a name.
I'm sorry, I had it on mute. Once again, thank you everybody for the invitation this evening. I know everybody's kind of pressing for time with what's going on tonight with the address by the president. So I just want to be quick and brief and to the point. I was on the last meeting, and I just want to share information about the Capitol Guardian Youth Challenge because I think this program is definitely beneficial for the District of Columbia residents. Our program is an at-risk youth program for DC residents for our young men and women between the ages of 16 and 18, and they can turn 19 while they're in the program. This program gives them the opportunity to receive the District of Columbia High School diploma, a vocational trade, and 40 community service hours. Our program is a 22-week residential program, and we continue to work with the youth for a year after they leave the program. So in total, it's 17 months. So we can accommodate at this time up to 140 cadets, but due to COVID guidelines, we're at 104. We are recruiting for the next class that starts October 12th. So I would appreciate it if I could be invited, or someone from the admissions office can be invited to any event, community event, and we come out and set up a table and we get the word out even more to our District of Columbia residents. We are a co-ed program, but we are a non-fraternization program. So we have male and female there, but they're in separate dining facilities, separate living quarters, and separate classrooms. We do these things because these are some of the distractions that have hindered our young men and women in public schools. So we have no cell phones, we don't have any piercings, we are quasi-military, so we take characteristics from the military. We have a dress standard, we have a hair and facial standard, so the females have to wear their hair up, no makeup, males have to cut their hair down, no facial hair. We're 100% funded, 25% state, 75% federal. The only cost to the families is when their young man or young woman comes to our program, provide personal hygiene items, soap pods to wash their clothes, undergarments, and materials for letter writing. Do I have any questions about the program right now? Okay, so I can be contacted. I'm sorry, I was prepared to share my screen for my information through Zoom. I'm very new to this WebEx, so you can take my number down at 202.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I've also given you a screen sharing ability, so if you want to put it up, but I can also type it in the chat.
I don't think I'm having that ability to do that right now, but 202-997-3824 is my personal cell phone work number. That's 202-997-3824. You can contact me at Gerard, Gerard, Waluyn, WALUYN, at dc.gov. And I will answer any questions. You can send any prospects my way, any family members who are having difficulties with their children and need to get them re-engaged. They can contact me and I will take it from there. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity this evening.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate you attending. And you forgot to mention that this is the month of the military child. We spoke about that earlier.
We sure did. We sure did.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Mr.
Before you continue, someone put in a chat that they wanted to repeat the name of your program, sir.
It's the Capital Guardian Youth Challenge Program. And they can go on www.cgyca.org to learn more about the program. That's www.cgyca.org to learn more about the program. And we're on Facebook as well.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Rick, were you saying something?
Yes, I'd like to add a comment to it, if I may.
Sure.
To let everybody know, the Capital Guardian Youth Program is 75% funded by the Department of Defense and 25% funded by the District of Columbia. The program is sanctioned by DC government. They supported the program to help at-risk kids. Our role with the program is I'm the financial advisor to the program and the director of DC government operations for DC National Guard. So there is a nexus to the city and what we're trying to do, get those at-risk students into the program. We are currently working with DC public schools to look at some of the recovery for those young men and women who don't complete the program but have something a chance to go back. So that's in the making as well. And you can contact me at herman.preston@dc.gov.
All right, thank you. And thank you for not using up all your time.
Thank you.
Always. And also, one alibi, the DC National Guard, Major General William Walker is no longer the commanding general of the DC National Guard. He is now the Sergeant of Arms for the House of Representatives on Capitol. The new commanding general interim is Major General Candlemas. She's an Air Force two-star general. And she's there in interim waiting for them to either commit her or assign someone else.
All right, thank you.
Thank you guys for allowing us to speak.
Sure. So now we have someone who showed up before, and I think this is going to be his third try. I'm not sure if he's on. I didn't see his name yet. Mr. Curley, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. So Mr. Curley, Gregory Curley is the architect for 1915 Shepherd Street Northeast, and he's coming before the ANC Commission Board to get support for his project. And I'm going to allow him to speak and tell us a little bit about what he is asking a relief for. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, and I also want to communicate that the owner of the property is here as well. So maybe they can introduce themselves.
Hey there, it's Sam and Jess at 1915 Shepherd Street. We are, happy to be here. Thank you for Commissioner Carley for putting this before the commission. And this is for us a step in a process that we inherited and are looking to wrap up in May, and then get on with not thinking about it ever again. So, as I'm sure you all are too. Thanks for bringing this up.
Okay, Mr. Curley, do you have any?
Yeah, can I share the screen, or
Sure.
does someone need to give me the ability to do so?
I gave you permission, so you should be good to go.
Okay. So, can everyone see the screen that I have up here?
I cannot yet.
It shows that you're sharing a screen, but it's just a black box.
Okay, let's see here.
And for those of you who may have questions, if you want to write them in the chat room as Mr. Curley is presenting, that would be very helpful in us keeping this meeting moving.
All right, let me try this again. I thought I had it share, and I'm getting, sorry about this, folks. Let me try one more time.
No childcare, no job, no childcare. Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better.
All right, can you see this
probably
now?
not your fault. It's probably just
I
like
can, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we have here is really a double wide lot. We have a lot that you see this existing house on right here. And then you have this side of the lot right here. So what we're proposing with BZA, we need relief from two issues. One, the minimum lot width. We have an 80-foot wide lot. When we subdivide that, we'll have two lots approximately 40 feet, and we have a minimum lot width in this zone district of 50 feet. So we are asking for relief from the width of the lots. When we subdivide the lot, the other thing that happens is that the side yard on this particular building does not meet the minimum width of a side yard, which is 8 feet. So we're asking relief from the side yard of, I'm going to call it the existing lot because the existing house is on that, when we subdivide it, would be on that particular lot. So we're asking for relief from both the lot width and the side yard setback. So when you're looking at here is the site plan. So this is the proposed new lot. this dog leg, it has an existing garage. This is what we'll call the existing lot, even though they're both two lots. They both meet the minimum requirement for square footage for a lot. And we're proposing a 2-story single family home with a garage and a home office above. So this was actually 4 lots, lot 11, a lot 10, lot 9, and then 5 feet of a recorded unnamed lot, which was probably at one point part of the lot that's of the adjacent house. I'm not sure on that, but this is important to communicate to everyone that originally this was 3 full lots and a sliver of another lot, actually 4 lots that we're proposing that we subdivide into 2 lots. We have a 2-story single family home, living, kitchen, dining, and a family room on the first floor, and then a garage. So we bring the parking off the street. And then we have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths on the second floor of the house, and then a home office on the above the garage. Here's some elevations, some line drawing elevations. This is the elevations of the proposed garage. These are some isometric drawings of the proposed house. And then this is a rendering of how that would look with in a photo collage. And then one other thing I wanted to share was that when we're looking at the widths of the lots, of the existing lots, I went and did an analysis of all the lots on the block. They run anywhere from 37 feet wide to 45 feet wide. So when we're subdividing this into an 80 foot wide lot, we are consistent with the south and north side of this block of Shepherd Street. And then when you're looking at the lot area, ours is 12,000 plus square feet. All the other lots are anywhere from 7,000 to 3,900. We're going to be, our lot, when we subdivide this, we will have lots that are approximately, I had it written down here, sorry that I didn't remember. But we're going to have lots that are 7,323 and 5,011. So we will be consistent with the lots on the north and south side of the Shepherd Street for this block. And then the side yards, I did an analysis of the side yards. Some of them are as little as 1 foot, and others are as large as 10 feet. And so again, even though we're asking for relief from the side yard, we're consistent with the side yards on the south and north side of Shepherd Street on this particular block. So this is our proposal. We had one more image that I will take you to, which sort of shows the context and the height of the proposed building. We're proposing a 32-foot high 2-story building, which is consistent with the other 2-story structures on this particular side of the block. So that's really the presentation. I think we're asking for modest relief. The relief we're asking for is consistent with the other lots on Shepherd Street. And I think when you look at the history of this particular property, that it was actually 4 lots at one time. It seems like this particular property was intended for 2 houses instead of 1 house because of the configuration and the location of where this particular house is located on the lot. It's not centered on the lot, but it is over on one side. And so when we're subdividing this, it's consistent with the other lots and the widths of the other lots. So enough said on that. Thank you for your time and patience with us. I think we've gone through this a couple of times, and our BZA hearing was postponed till the end of May. And so we're now have the chance to present to the full ANC. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And now I have, can we remove, thank you, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Eddie Johnson or Edward Johnson. He's an architect and an urban planner.
Can we ask questions before you move on to the next person?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So on that property, the existing house will remain and you're building an additional single-family home adjacent to it.
That's exactly correct. The existing house will remain, and Sam and Jess are living in that house. They recently purchased this house. This really is not a development opportunity for Sam and Jess. They want the ability down the road to have to subdivide this particular property. I don't think they have any intention of this happening in the short term. But they did purchase the property, and part of the conversation with the past owner was that they would have the ability, or they have the opportunity, to turn this into 2 lots. I'll let Sam and Jess sort of talk a little bit more about that if they'd like to.
So, okay, so I just want to make sure in layman's terms that I understand.
Sure.
So currently the existing property and structure will remain, and you're proposing to have another property with a garage and a courtyard adjacent to that, which sits on the current lot that is encompassed as one.
That is correct.
And so you stated that down the line, and we pretty much don't know what down the line means, but down the line that they may subdivide. And when you're stating subdivide, that means split the properties, and there'll be 2 standalone properties in which, if they decided they wanted to sell that property and remain, so they could recoup an upwards of $400,000 to $600,000 as a sale from that additional property, or whatever one they have. They have the ability to do that. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yes.
Yes, I'm happy to provide a little bit more historical context on this.
No, I just want, is that correct though?
That is the case. I know that this has not been a popular project, so
Ma'am, I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that the other architect have an opportunity to speak, so that we, both will be able to speak on this property, and then you can ask questions about it, or if anyone have any questions that the architect cannot answer, then you can answer then, okay? Because I want to keep this.
We're ahead of schedule. I was just hoping to express that we did not start this process, the seller did.
Right.
Okay, and in terms of the contractual,
this is the second time you guys got an opportunity to speak before the commission, and the neighbors, at that time, the 200 footers was not available and did not know that the architect was going to speak before the commission the first time this happened. So I just want to make that clear, so that the neighbors are now available now, the 200 footers. So I just want to make sure that their voice is heard as well, because this is the second time you guys came before the commission. Okay, Mr. Edward Johnson is an architect and an urban planner. And he is also going to speak on this property. I asked him to look at it. He is one of the people that I usually consult, when I have any type of development going on in the area and how it will impact the 200 footers and the area and the communities in it. I mean, the residents in that area. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My voice is coming through.
Yes.
Thank you for having an opportunity for me to share a few thoughts. But before I talk about this particular site, let me put it in the context of the regulation. The purpose of the zoning regulations are to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the constituents of the nation's capital. So when we have single families, regardless of whether single family, building types, the zoning regulation sets land use, it sets the amount of building area you can construct on a lot, it sets heights and various setbacks. They have changed over time. I heard the gentleman speak a little earlier. He said, well, there's some properties that have very narrow side yard requirements. Zoning regulations have changed as society has grown. Therefore, the regulations for this particular lot, R1B, requires an 8-foot setback, side yard setback. It requires to have a minimum of a 50-foot wide lot. Once this new building, as shown on the sketches that were provided, once that would be constructed, it cannot meet side yard setbacks for both properties. The existing property would probably have a 2.5-foot side yard setback. Why is that an issue? Well, as I mentioned, the purpose of the regs is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. So in residential structures, in a single family district, you have at a minimum of 8-foot side yard setback, a minimum 25-foot rear yard setback. The building has to set behind the building restriction line. So that provides yard area, front, sides, and back. So that provides what? Reasonable airflow, reasonable landscape planning. That's important because trees and shrubs cleanse the air. That's why it's so important. It also provides reasonable access for commercial service personnel, and in some instances, emergency service vehicles. So again, when we reduce those requirements, it is in conflict, obviously, with the regulations, but more importantly, when we reduce it for one, we set a precedent. So if we can reduce setback requirements for one to 2.5 feet for one property and 8 the other, then you have the next entity that goes before the BZA saying, well, you did it for them, you should do it for me.
Right.
That's not a positive response. The other thing, again, you get airflow, you get pedestrian movement, it reduces noise impact between dwelling units. So in a single family, again, you have a minimum 8-foot side yard between. So technically, between the walls, there should be 16 feet. So whatever noise that occurs inside these various buildings, the distance plus the walls reduce those impacts. The opportunity for landscaping, not to mention water flow. And I noticed the elevation, meaning the various sides of this building, have this building with the roof slope going east-west, which means the water flow, part of it, even though running into downspouts, part of it's going to run into the public alley. The part on the east is going to run to the neighbor's property. Why? They're so close together. And now we're not having rain for a few hours. We're having rain for a whole week. So that potentially could create a hazard with so much water running between the two buildings. Another thing, architecturally, as we noticed, the roof lines of the buildings along this entire block, for the most part on the south and the north side, have front to rear slopes. This building, in contrast, would have a east to west slope. So there's a continuity issue here, where a building is designed with a I won't say a lack of attention to existing forms, but it's obvious that there's not a concern for acknowledging the roof lines there and incorporating that roof line into a new building, which would create continuity. The other thing is as I mentioned, lot occupancy, rear yard setback, front yard setback, lot occupancy. These are all the issues. But the primary issues here are side yard and rear yard. And I understand that there's already been one district agency who is opposed to this. And I think, as I said, to support this in conflict with the current zoning regulations creates a negative record, which is going to be transferred up in other areas. And I would think that we want to maintain the integrity of our 8-foot side yards for single family homes in an R1 district.
Yep.
Yeah, to Mr. Johnson's report, thank you for that. That was very insightful, at least for me. And I know that you're a landscape architect, so I'm going to ask you to expound just a little bit more on that and talk about the wildlife and the importance of wildlife being able to move around freely in spaces, and the hindrance that this could have, the pros and cons actually that these properties being so close together in this configuration could do to the wildlife environment, being that birds and everything else that we can find here in 5B, raccoons, possum, all those things which we may not like, but they're very vital to our existence, and they keep our ecosystem in balance.
Should I speak? Oh, okay. Before we talk about birds, since many of us who are employed are working from home now, a large percentage of people who work in offices and other locations are now working from home. A lot of folks are buying animals, cats and dogs and birds. And so again, when you have appropriate side yards, front, rear yards, you give these animals an opportunity to move freely. When you have dogs and you have a very narrow separation between side yards, that's a noise issue. And depending upon the size of an animal, that could be a serious noise issue. Another point, the fact that this is an open space, and it has been for many, many years, it offers an opportunity to do tree planting. And as I mentioned, benefits of these trees, they cause a process called transpiration, which releases oxygen into the air to cleanse the air. So when we build more structure, building opposition to the potential for maintaining a certain amount of landscape. And obviously, when they're trees, birds have an opportunity to fly. And plus, we have the issue of squirrels in our area as well. So they become an opportunity for green spaces. But I think the key here is when you're dealing with, and so many people are buying dogs. We know dogs make a lot of noise, depending upon size. And the yard area provides an opportunity for them to run.
Can I respond to this just to give a different point of view? The side yard, what we'll have will be over 10 feet, which is consistent and even larger than the combined side yards of most of the houses in this particular block on the north and south side. The rear yard, we are meeting, the only relief we're asking for is the side yard and the lot width. The rear yard, the side yards on the new lot that we're creating all meet the standard for the R1B zone district. In terms of the wildlife, this will not have a negative impact on the wildlife. We're talking one house that's going to be put up here, and it's going to be consistent in size with the neighboring homes. We would be happy to change the roof line and have a gabled roof to pitch back at the front. I mentioned that at a previous meeting. Really, the response was, well, it doesn't matter what you do with the house, we don't want the house. So we didn't move forward with that. But we're trying to be respectful to the neighborhood by the size and the scale of the house. I'm sure Sam and Jess and I would be happy to change the pitch of the roof at the front and turn it down so it's more consistent with the neighboring properties. But we're providing light and air for the existing house and for the proposed house. We're not close to any other houses. There's an alley next to this particular property. So we're going to be, you know, on the other side of the alley, we'll be 8 plus 10 plus 8, you know, we'll be over 20 feet away from that particular property. So I think what we're doing is very modest. And also when you go to the BZA hearings, this will not set precedent. The BZA looks at each case individually, and the state that they will look at each case individually. I think that's important to note. We're not trying to set precedent for small properties to be subdivided. When you do a variance, you need to meet 3 criteria. 1, you have to show that the property is unique in some manner. And the uniqueness of this property is that it's twice as large as most of the properties on that particular block at over 12,000 square feet. It was originally 4 lots. We're subdividing it to 2 lots. We cannot create an adverse condition to any of the neighboring properties, which Sam and Jess are in the neighboring property, and I think they would attest that they will not be adversely affected by this particular proposed development. And you have to be consistent with the zoning. So BZA is very
Can I make
clear.
one comment?
Mr. Kearley, wait a minute, because you know, I gave you, you know, time.
Yeah, one comment. Can I make one comment?
I'm just responding to some of the other comments, Gail, so I think I should be able to do that.
Yeah, but you went on about something else. Mr. Edwards,
let me make one comment. One other comment.
So I can wrap this up so we can move on, because that's why I wanted you guys to be prepared when you came to this meeting.
Let me make one other comment. Mr. Keeley, I've been arguing zoning cases for 20 years. I'm a zoning consultant. Now, the fact of the matter is, when you change the lot width, that sets a serious precedent that could have an impact on anyone else who comes before the BZA. And the same is true when you change the side yard setback. So this is serious. It's not, oh, we're doing a nice home. I'm not objecting to a building that you're planning, a residence you're planning to build. My concern as a planner and an architect and a zoning consultant is that this sets a serious precedence for projects to follow. And especially now, we're very concerned about the size and volumes of buildings that are being built in residential areas already. So this does set a serious precedent.
I mean, respectfully, I just...
Oh, come on, stop him.
Okay, so I want to stop right there. But I do want to mention that the property or the project that you're going to build, I want to keep, you know, everyone to keep in mind, just so they can have a visual, because that picture did not give a clear visual that the property you're going to put next to the existing property is going to be 2.4 feet from the adjacent property. We need to keep that in mind.
Very important.
Let me finish, please, because it's supposed to be 8 feet from the adjacent property. I need you to keep that in mind. 2, you said that the rear property, although you're not asking for relief, the rear property, when I looked at it and also consulted with Office of Planning, it is supposed to be 25 feet in rear property. You're saying it meets that guideline, but between that pad you got there and the space you have behind that is not 25 feet. So I did consult with this. So you may not be asking for that relief now, but when you go to try to build, you would have to ask for relief again. But you're supposed
to. Excuse me, but that is not correct. I want to be very clear. You can have a accessory structure, a garage that sits within the setback, which we have. This meets the requirement of the setback. For the rear setback, the only relief other than the width of the lot will be the side yard setback.
Sir,
Okay,
you
now, I'm
mentioned
on
that
the
in your
call. I get,
presentation.
I
You
hope
mentioned that in your
it's okay.
presentation. And what I'm trying to explain to you is when I consulted with Office of Planning to get a clear idea of what 25 feet rear yard means, and that means, yes, it can be broken up, but it still must be 25 feet from public space to the end of that structure, which is the project you're going to build. So I want to mention that. And also, I need to put this out, and I know, I got a little, some comments when I put it out before. When we had the hearing, the chair of the BISA chair made it clear that Office of Planning did not support this project. And that was their suggestion to also the Office of Zoning. So I do want to make that very clear.
I do want to add one thing on that, though. I think it's important for everyone to know that it sounds like the Office of Planning, in looking at that document, didn't approve of it because they didn't feel like the exemption, there was enough justification for it, rather than disagreeing. I think they went as far as saying they didn't agree that it changed the character of the neighborhood with their comments.
And we're also, just to be clear on Office of Planning, we are re-engaging with Office of Planning because I don't think Office of Planning understood that it was originally 4 lots. And so we're going to have Office of Planning is going to give their opinion at the BZA hearing, but I think we have reason to believe that the opinion will be different from the first. That was not an official BZA hearing on this. The meeting was postponed.
Because you denied to have it at that time. So it wasn't official because you said you didn't want to have a hearing.
Gail, the reason we didn't have it is because ANC hadn't weighed in. And that's because of the situation that you did not give us the opportunity to present to the full ANC. So please don't put that on us. That was because the ANC did not vote on that.
Well, that was not the case because of the timing. January 15th, we had already set the agenda, and I can go over that 10 times, but I'm sure I'm going to have people disagree with me. But I'm going to go ahead and call on Shirley Smith. Go ahead, Shirley.
Actually, I have a question.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. Are you from 5B01?
Me?
Yes.
No, I'm the commissioner for 5B03,
Okay.
but I need to weigh in on
this.
that.
5B01 now. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Let me say, I've walked through this whole community and I've not found one person. First of all, the lady bought this house less than 6 months ago. She must have bought it with the intent of doing just what she's doing now. And I'm only saying it's unfair to us in this community. And this here has nothing to do with the project. Looks terrible, whether on that house, on that block, the houses are going that way. You can go around the corner, they look different. You can go behind them, it looks completely different. So I'm only saying, I said to Gail, and we have said in North Woodruff, and that's where I am in North Woodruff, from 18th to Eastern, from Monroe to Michigan, includes this area right here. This does not fit what we want to live in. So I want us to be very clear about how you come into our community and buy a house and decide that you're going to sell it out, our community, who you want to come into it. And it's not what we want to do. Whoever the person is, it's not a point of them moving here and deciding they were going to put a lot on a property that has been sitting for almost 3 years that they bought. And so therefore the place, it was going rotten in a way when they bought it. And so they bought it for a project, just what they're doing now. So that's what I'm saying from North Woodruff. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, and I just would like to say this. I understand everyone has some input, and I would like 5B01 to actually have the input, and anyone outside of the area, if they want to ask questions, they can. But as far as input, I would like you to respect the fact that the people who live here are the ones who should have the input. Okay, anyone else?
Carly, I have a question. Just around, so I want to be clear, and I think this is piggybacking on what Commissioner Higgins asked. So I just want to be very clear, at the previous meeting we had discussed, there was the potential for this to be an in-law unit, something for aging parents. Is this is the intention to have an extra property that you would continue to own, or is the intention to build a second property that you would then sell?
The intention for us, so we purchased this property in January. We bought it from someone who, quite honestly, was in the neighborhood to make money. He purchased this house in cash. He bought it because it had a big lot, and he said, I want to subdivide it. So when we came to tour the house, we were shown stakes in the ground that outlined, and he said, I'm dividing the property. This is what I'm offering you for sale. And we said, okay. I didn't understand how the process worked at the time. I assumed that that was what he was telling me was true. By the time January rolled around and we were getting close to closing, it was clear that he had not divided the lots. So he offered for us to take over the process for him. And Sam and I said, okay, that sounds great. Obviously, since we have entered this process, we understand that it is not that simple. However, we are contractually obligated. If we do not finish this process, regardless of the outcome, we are contractually obligated to pay him for the architect's fees, the drawings, all of the city fees that he paid for. If we get to the end of this process and the answer is a no, we get a significant refund on the property that we purchased. So we really have, we have no immediate plans to build this if it does go through. We have no desire to build a home. We're simply continuing a process that had already been put in motion. And for us, there's a significant amount of money on the line if we finish this and the answer is no. So we're not, we're really excited to live here. We love this house. We love walking this community. We did not purchase this house with the intent to put a new one next door and put that up for sale. It's really okay with us either way, but we have an obligation to finish the process.
Thank you very much.
So, but also,
thank you very much for clarifying that. And I appreciate that. I think that adds a lot of color to this. I would also just say, because it came up before, I appreciate you all coming back through this process again. I know we were not given the resolution in time previously, but I do appreciate your patience in delaying the hearing and coming back through this. So thank you.
Okay, and so what I would like to say, I understand the question was brought up twice, asking whether or not it's going to be an in-law suite or what their plans are. I don't think that's important here. I understand, people want to know, because life happens. People can say they can do something now, and then later on down the road to say, well, you know what, something happened. We decide we're going to sell both properties and we're going to relocate somewhere else. I think we need to stick to the business side of this, and that is zoning is put in place for a reason. That is to regulate so that, we basically are not building what is going to encroach or in some way hinder other people who are living in that area, whether they're 200 footers or whether they're in the surrounding areas. I just want to make that clear. Zoning,
I'd like to ask a question.
I brought that up. Excuse me. I brought that up because I saw one of the statements in there that, someone was saying that, we have the audacity or something to that effect. And I'm just paraphrasing, so it's not, word for word, that we are telling someone else what they can do on their property. And that isn't the case. What we're saying, hell, I got a tree in my yard. I can't get down without a permit. So, so what I'm saying is these regulations and rules are in place for a reason.
Okay, this is Commissioner Costello. I would like to ask Jessica and Sam a question. I agree with Commissioner Carley that we need to focus on the business at hand. And frankly, there's a lot of stuff that we've already discussed that has nothing to do with the specific variance requested. For instance, the roof line is not something that BZA is going to care to hear from us about because it has nothing to do with the variance pertaining to the side and rear yard setbacks. But my question for you guys is actually a pretty practical one. What would you rather have? Would you rather have this this proposal approved, or do you want your money back? I'm genuinely curious to know. Help us help you.
Anyone here a lawyer?
Okay, if you haven't thought about it and you don't have a ready answer, I get it. I don't want to.
We've thought about it a lot, and we would absolutely rather have the money. I mean, we have estimates out to people. We'd like to fence the whole property for our dogs.
Yeah.
But we are, like we said, contractually obligated to finish this process, and really would be happy either way.
Yeah. I mean, look, my view is, frankly, I mean, you've got an 80-foot wide lot. All of your neighbors, you're proposing to divide it into a 39 and a 41-foot lot individually. Your neighbors all have 40-foot wide lots. There's one with 45-foot wide lot. So you know, I mean, the request doesn't seem too crazy to me, but if you'd rather have your money back, I'm happy to vote in opposition to this variance request so we can make sure it fails, or at least try to help it fail.
Can't ask anyone to do that. So we are here requesting that this go forward and that this is a you know, a proposal that we have sponsored and that, you know, we're here meeting for. So
I get it. I know you can't ask for that.
We do support it going forward.
Okay, well, it's going to go forward. I mean, we can't stop the process. That's well beyond our control. All we can do is make a recommendation, and BZA has to give it great weight. Doesn't mean it has to listen to us, but knowing what you really ultimately want is really helpful for us to make a good, sound decision. I mean, I also want to be respectful of what the neighbors are concerned about. So it actually sounds like we're all kind of on the same page here.
Okay, and so I'm going to make 2 points here, and then I'm going to end this segment of me hosting. One, I understand that the measurements for the side yards or the lots are brought up, but keep in mind these homes were built back in 1935, and over the years they thought it was important to put these rules and guidelines in place for a reason, regardless of what it was prior. And that is to protect the safety and health of those adjacent neighbors. Two, I also want to bring up the fact that, and now I even forgot that, but basically a resolution is going to be put on the floor tonight. I want to thank and that the majority of the 200 footers, I do believe I sent you guys the petitions for that I went door to door to get. And I also want to mention that Mr. Curley said that, you know what, the neighbors was going to oppose this project regardless of what we put there. And I disagree. And the reason why is because I knocked on those neighbors' doors 3 times. The first time I knocked on each one of the 200 footers doors, they said, well, what are they going to put there? Because when I asked the previous owner to reach out to the neighbors first, by letter, knocking on the door, however he wants, so that he could inform those neighbors what he planned to put there, what you guys are going to do with that property. And he sent them a letter and a plat, and that was it. So when I knocked on each one of those doors, they had no idea, and they did not think they could make an informed decision at that time whether they opposed or supported the project. So I came back to you guys and I asked you to give something more realistic, 3D, so that they could see it. You sent it to me, and I took it back around to the neighbors, gave them an opportunity to look it over. And a third time I went back, and once they saw it, they said no. So they did not initially oppose that project.
Commissioner Carley, I think
to
we're
respond
all
to that, because that is that I'm just saying what was told for us in the development meeting, Gail. I am not putting words in people's mouths.
No,
I don't want to get in an argument with you about this, but that's what we were told at that meeting. And just one other thing too, I just want to be clear on this setback issue, because this is important. That this setback is this is a porch right here, where the 2.5 foot setback is for this property is where the porch is at. The house is actually set back 7.5 feet. This is not conditioned space. Anything in the house that's conditioned space is set back 7.5 feet. So we're really a 1/2 foot short of what would be typical in terms of the side yard setback. Now, the porch will count towards the setback, but I just want to be clear that what we're asking for is not significant. And it's consistent with other neighbors.
You had an opportunity to present, and we have to
let him finish. Let him finish.
No, I'm hosting this right now, and I'm saying he had an opportunity.
Well, Gail, the reason I'm saying this is because you're saying you are communicating things that are not consistent with what is going on and what we heard at the development meeting. So I think if someone says something about side yards and something about the relief we're asking for, and I think I have an obligation to respond to that. So, and that's what I'm doing.
Mr. Kearley, I've got a quick question. I'm sorry. You mentioned a development meeting. Can you describe what you meant by that?
At the development meeting, a number of the neighbors basically said they don't want anything here.
Oh, okay. So this was just a single member district meeting.
This was the single member district,
Okay,
and this
thank
is
you.
Gail is the single member.
After
the
excuse,
development committee.
as someone, can I speak for a second? As someone that was at the development meeting and who faces the back of this house, and the only property in this block that has 2 houses legally sanctioned on it, I was very clear if they were building an in-law suite, something in character of the neighborhood, that I would not be opposed to it. So I think people were very clear if you're building a big footprint, and it was very clearly communicated in that movement that there was going to be no budging on the size of that structure. That's when the opposition came. But if you were building something more in character, an in-law suite, a smaller footprint, that there could be some understanding, or some we could reach a consensus. So I just want to clarify that one point.
Thank you. And I actually had, a follow-up question for Mr. Kearley. Sorry, I know there's a lot of different meetings we have, so semantics matter. When you mentioned development meetings, so we have the single member district meetings, which are 5B01 is what you would have attended. And then there's a separate subcommittee of the ANC that is a development subcommittee. Can you clarify which meeting you attended?
It was my understanding that it was the development meeting, and that Gail was also the single member district for the ANC. So I don't know if it was officially combined, but it was my understanding that this was the development committee meeting that we first presented to.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, this is Commissioner Higgins. So you actually attended 2 meetings and gave a presentation. The one was before the single member district for 5B01. And then, so the development meeting, did that consist of just you and the people on the committee, or?
No, the only meeting we presented to prior to this was the development committee meeting.
What? Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean.
Commissioner Carley is muted. I think she's trying to say something.
he's calling it a development meeting only because it was with the 200 footers. I hosted that meeting, and it was about that development.
Thank you for clarifying. That's helpful.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Let me make one other point about the owners, the developers.
Wait a minute, Mr. Johnson, we did your presentation. The commission themselves are just trying to ask questions to the developer as to what the process was that they took. So
I just want to make a point because he raised a couple of other issues.
I understand that, but what we're just trying to see what that process was that he took to go along in line with the processes that the ANC have to take. So we're not really trying to get clarity right now on the architectural process of it. We're just trying to see if all of the necessary steps were taken. So when he said development meeting, we're just trying to get clarity. If it was an SMD meeting, if it was a development meeting, or what, that's what we're trying to get clarity on. We're not going back to present.
Right.
Does any of the other commissioners have any questions for the developer?
I don't.
Or for the family or 5B01 residents?
I don't have any questions. I want to ask Commissioner Carley if the resolution we're considering is the one that we tabled, I believe 2 months ago. Was that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we will be moving to take that off the table if there's no further discussion amongst the commission, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I am ready to move ahead if my colleagues are.
Okay, this ends my portion of hosting the meeting, and I turn it back over to Commissioner Higgins.
Thank you so much. So we're going to move into our resolution portion. So we're going to go ahead and start with Commissioner Carley. Could you please read your BZA resolution for case number 20389?
Yes, ma'am, I surely can. Give me 1 minute, please. Okay. Resolution opposing application relief request number 20389 to build a structure with side yard 2.40 feet less than the required 8 feet in both the existing and proposed lots, less than the required 50 feet. Whereas DCMR 11-D 300.1A proposes R1B zones are to protect quiet residential areas developed with detached dwellings and adjoining vacant areas likely to be developed for those purposes. B, stabilize the residential areas and promote a suitable environment for family life. And DCMR 11-D 300-3 intended to provide for areas predominantly developed with detached houses on moderately sized lots. Whereas Mercedes-Benz of Linginswell LLC sold the house on January 14, 2021. However, Jessica Ellis and Gregory Curley, I'm sorry, I put the wrong names in there, hadn't submitted a new zoning request for zoning variance relief, side yard and lot width for both the existing structures and the proposed structure. Whereas the developers proposed to divide the 80-foot lot reduces the existing structure A to a 41-foot wide lot and build a 2-story single-family home B on a lot 39 feet wide, causing both structures to violate the minimum 50 feet wide requirement for single-family homes zoned R1B, according to DCMR 11-D 302.1. Whereas the developers proposed to build a single-family 2-story structure 2.40 feet wide adjacent to the existing structure at 1915 Shepherd Street Northeast, violates DCMR 11-D 307.1. Side yard shall provide a minimum of 8 feet wide in neighborhood zone R1B. Whereas for the buildings subject to side yard requirements, but which has an existing side yard less than 8 feet wide, may add an extension or addition to the building, provided that the width of the existing side yard shall not be decreased, and provided further that the width of the existing side yard shall be a minimum of 5 feet, according to DCMR 11-D 307.5. Whereas the proposed 2-story single-family home violates DCMR 11-D 223.2 C, addition or accessory structure, together with the original building, as viewed from the street, alley, and other public way, shall not substantially visually intrude upon the character, scale, and pattern of houses along the subject street frontage. And whereas the existing homes, roofs, in the 1900 block of Shepherd Street Northeast face front to rear when viewed from the street and alley. The developers proposed a 2-story single-family home's roof faces left to right, potentially causing runoff, rain runoff to flow onto adjacent property and downhill into other neighbors' yards and basements. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Neighborhood Commission 5B urges the Board of Zoning Adjustment to oppose zoning relief for developers to subdivide an 80-foot lot with an existing structure to build a single-family structure that will occupy 39 feet in width on the same lot. Both properties will violate the 50-foot minimum wide required for single-family home zone R1B, according to DCMR 11-D 302.1. ANC 5B urges the Board of Zoning Adjustment to deny zoning relief for the developers at 1915 Shepherd Street Northeast to build adjacent to the existing structure 2.40 feet less than the required 8 feet, violates DCMR 11-D 307.1. Side yards shall have a minimum of 8 feet in R1B zones. ANC 5B urges the Board of Zoning Adjustment to protect property owners within 200 feet of 1915 Shepherd Street who would be adversely affected by the developer's proposed project that visually intrudes upon the character, scale, and pattern of homes along the subject street frontage if BZA grant zoning relief. And ANC 5B urges the zoning adjustment to support the 200-footers who overwhelmingly signed a petition opposed granting developer side yard relief 2.40 feet and lot width relief 39 feet for 1950 Shepherd Street Northeast Zone R1B. I have presented the resolution for this project opposing it, and I'm asking the commissioners to support my resolution.
Okay, the motion has been placed on, I'm just doing this for clarity's sake. The motion was placed on the floor by Commissioner Carley, and it was seconded by Commissioner Costello. So now we're going to call for the vote.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Higgins, before we do that, now that it's on the floor, I would actually like to move to amend a few provisions of the resolution. I will say, Commissioner Carley, I'm inclined to support your request, but there are a couple of provisions in here that, from BZA's perspective, would be irrelevant, and so I don't think it's necessary for us to include it. I do want BZA to consider our input and take it seriously, but I know that there are things in here that aren't relevant to the specific variance requested. So, for instance, paragraph 6, the 6th whereas clause pertaining to the character of the neighborhood and the design of the proposed addition is not something that would be relevant to the setback variance requests. And provision 7, the 7th whereas clause, which also pertains to the roof line of the proposed structure. Again, these are aesthetic features that BZA doesn't, it won't consider.
These are rules and guidelines that they have listed in their regulations.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure why you would say it would not be significant. They're in the guidelines. These are things that are brought up to me from the 200-footers, and if I found something to support it, then yes, I put it in there.
Oh no, I get it.
Okay.
Not every concern, unfortunately, is something that BZA is going to consider. BZA is looking at whether the variance request is whether the developer meets the threshold to get a
Commissioner, respectfully, they are concerns of my constituents.
Yeah.
I understand that. I just don't think it matters for BZA's purposes.
But I'm asking for a vote, and we all gave input. And what I'm saying is, you had this resolution since March. So what I'm saying right now is my constituents find this to be a concern. That's who I represent.
I understand that, but we have to vote on it, and we haven't had a chance to discuss amending the resolution at a public meeting. I can't amend this resolution via email.
No, I understand. And what I'm saying is this is the voice. This resolution is the voice of my constituents.
Commissioner, are you saying that we have to agree with everything in the resolution to be able to support it? Because I think I don't want to put words in Commissioner Costello's mouth, but I kind of feel like we would support it being clear on what is valid from a BZA perspective.
Correct.
You know what? You're saying that you didn't have an opportunity to correct this before, but it has been on the floor before. So you had that up until that time, from the time it was put on the floor up until now. This is the second time it's put on the floor. All I'm saying is I cannot understand how, if you don't believe it's significant, why it would make a difference. Are you telling me that I should not take in consideration because for somehow, while it does in no way does it make the resolution irrelevant? What I'm saying is these are the concerns. if these are the concerns of the majority of the people or the constituents, why can't it be in a resolution?
I mean, I get that the constituents are concerned about wildlife and rain runoff too, but that doesn't, that
No,
doesn't.
no, that was a consumer that was a commissioner that brought that up. That was not a constituent.
I think you had actually mentioned rainwater runoff before.
I did, but you said wildlife.
That was a point I think that was addressed by one of your invited guests. My point is, you know, I can't really see how BZA would be concerned with the slope of a roof when it doesn't have anything to do with the
How
rear
do you know?
setback. I'm not finished. I'm not finished.
Okay,
when it
go
doesn't
ahead.
have anything to do with the rear setback or the side yard setback. You know, the character of the neighborhood also doesn't really seem to jive, but if that's something you'd prefer to keep in, that's fine. My preference would be to put something forward on behalf of the full commission that BZA will take more seriously. And BZA, in all of its zoning trainings for ANCs, has specifically instructed commissioners not to include irrelevant information that isn't specifically relevant to the special exception request or the variance request. And so that's what I'm encouraging us to consider right now.
Okay, but so you're telling me it's in the it's in zoning regulation that the aesthetics of the neighborhood should also be weighed by the residents and taken into consideration whether or not it's going to fit into the neighborhood or whether it's going to be some sore thumb that sticks out that is not, you know, going to flow with the rest of the homes in that neighborhood. So, but it's in the regulation. If you want to reference it, you can.
Is there a request? I'm sorry. Is there a request to? As far as I can tell, your constituents have not requested anything pertaining to requesting a variance or exception to design or character of the structure. I mean, my understanding is that those restrictions typically only apply in historically designated areas, and this is not one of them.
That's not true. If you read R1B zoning, you will find it in there. And I am zoned R1B.
Can you tell me what it says? What it says about the design of homes?
Yes. Look at our zoning R1B. It specifically states that and about the designs of the neighborhood and how it should fit in residential neighborhoods. That's zone R1B.
This is a proposed residential structure that seems to fit the metric to me. But look,
I can't hear you. I think you froze.
I think she froze.
And we'll vote on whatever. If you are not amenable to amendments, that's your prerogative. This is on behalf of 5B01, not 5B05, 2, 3, or 4. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yes,
okay.
Because that is R1B zoning, and it specifically states in there about the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor by Commissioner Carley. It had been seconded by Commissioner Costello. So we're going to call for the vote.
Roll call, please.
All right, Commissioner Carley.
Yes.
I'll support it.
Commissioner Higgins.
I support.
Commissioner Becerra, I support, but I'd like it to be noted that R1B and the other regulations that are cited in this resolution are inaccurate, but I'm supporting the spirit of it, of the resolution. Commissioner Amin.
Sorry, I was muted. Abstain.
Commissioner Costello.
In deference to the residents who have proposed this variance request, I am supporting the resolution because it seems to be what they prefer.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor. The motion has been seconded. And we have 4 ayes in reference to the opposition. And we have 1 abstention. So the motion has been placed on the floor and passed. Our next agenda item is BZA relief for 4126 14th Street Northeast, to have the property have an extension on the back. I had been working with Ms. Woods in order to get this done. I spoke to Mr. Reed today from DCRA, and what he stated was that the application had just been received, payment made, but the hearing will not be until the end of September or the beginning of October. So we are tabling the vote for this resolution.
Thank you.
And our next agenda item, we're moving on to Commissioner Armin. We don't have a resolution this evening, correct?
Yeah, we don't, Chair Higgins. I thank you for that. As indicated, the BZA hearing date has been pushed back into June the 16th, 2021, due to backlog at BZA. We will hold a additional single member district meeting on this particular BZA case on May 12th for all who is interested.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and have our single member district reports, ANC 5B01.
Yeah. I passed my time.
Okay. I'm Ursula Higgins, Commissioner Higgins, 5B02. I just want to start off by giving my condolences to the family of Professor Paul Schutte. I'm sorry, I hope I pronounced that correctly. His home caught on fire at 512 Monroe Street, and unfortunately he passed in the fire along with his dog. So I just ask that you guys please continue to keep his friends, neighbors, and up in prayer. And truly my condolences to his family. And that occurred on Wednesday, April 7th. And also, I'm sure many of you know about the development that's going on the 1000 block of Newton Street Northeast, where two homes are going to be redone. They are a matter of right properties. A couple of the constituents reached out to me. I have reached out to the two developers that are working with them at Montage Development Group, as well as Outlier Cap. And I have reached out to them, and we're going to schedule a single member district meeting, even though it's a matter of right. The neighbors have concerns, so we will be meeting with them. We are trying to develop a date at this time. We are waiting on them to complete their presentation that they put together. I will be following up with you guys in reference to that property at 1036 and 1038 Newton Street Northeast. And I had already spoke about 4126 14th Street, and we'll revisit that at a later date. So now 5B03, Commissioner Pereira.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a couple of quick updates. I have reached out to the property owners for both the 1600 block of Rhode Island Avenue, where development is coming into what was formerly, I believe it was the Pancake House, as well as the 1300 block of Rhode Island, where there is an empty lot. I think that lot was used for church parking. I've emailed the owners to try to get more information about where the development stands. I know that some of the constituents have emailed me with questions. I apologize, there's a helicopter outside my window. So I will circulate information once that is available to me. Also, some of you may have seen MPD, specifically the 5th district special liaison unit they were out at the Rhode Island Triangle at Rhode Island and 14th today doing a community cleanup. So the park over there looks beautiful if you haven't had a chance to see it. MPD is going to be hosting more of those community cleanups. We know that we've gotten a lot of feedback about making sure that that area is clean and beautiful and available for folks if you want to use it. So I'm going to be continuing to work with MPD on those community cleanups. I will send out additional notices of when they are. So hopefully if anyone is interested, they can join me and MPD in keeping that clean. And that is it for me.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Amin, 5B04.
5B04, as I mentioned earlier, that we'll have a single amendment district meeting, primarily to focus on the BZA case at 1002 Roland Avenue. And that will be on May the 12th. And I will send out a URL for that to our single amendment district meeting members and anybody else in the community that may be interested. We met on this several times, but we're going to meet on it a little bit more because I found the community is evenly split on what should happen there. None of the previous commissioners mentioned, but this is a special meeting of ANC 5B on May 4th with DDOT. We will receive a presentation from DDOT about the protected bike lane that's being proposed on Monroe Street that will run through 5E straight through ANC 5B. So come on out for that. That's the May 4th at 6:30 p.m. and that may be up on our website already. I'm not sure. Commissioner Patera can let us know. And also, Kelly Chung Olson from DDOT will also be at that meeting. We will follow that bike lane meeting with a special meeting about 9th Street in Single Amendment District 5B04 between Girard and Monroe. It's been a big concern about public safety there and what we can do to make that street more usable for all the community and not just those who want to speed through our community in cars. So come on out and give your input and let's advocate for the things that we want on 9th Street in the single member district.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Amin. Commissioner Costello.
All right. Best for last. Just kidding. Just kidding. You're all great. So I had a meeting yesterday with my constituents and a few others who decided to join us. And we discussed some proposed changes to 10th Street on the 4200 and 4300 blocks. In response to a request from some residents on that street, DDOT had suggested that the agency might convert the existing one-way configuration to a two-way configuration and eliminate parking on the east side, which happens to be in my district. So we had a meeting. The overwhelming consensus was that people did not like that idea at all. So we're going to go back to DDOT and see what other solutions we can come up with. Several residents have also approached me about whether we could install a dog park somewhere in the area. And I'd love to say yes. It's not totally up to me. So we're going to work with residents and see if we can get a petition circulated and some locations narrowed down and decided on so that we can take that to DPR and see where it goes. I'll have another single member district meeting next month. I will also be hosting or co-hosting with one of my residents a trash cleanup again in May. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, last thing. DDOT is, hallelujah, finally moving ahead with some proposed improvements at 12th Street Northeast and Michigan Avenue and Randolph Street and 13th Street, Michigan Avenue, and Taylor Street. So I have included all of the information about what DDOT is proposing on my website. There's also a link to DDOT's notice of intent, and that includes the email address of the DDOT employee who you should contact if you'd like to submit a public comment. I believe, don't quote me on this, but the last date to submit public comments is in early June. I don't remember if it's June 2nd, 9th, or somewhere around there. But try to get it in by the end of May and you'll be fine. and let DDOT know what you think about those proposals so that, you know, if anything is lacking or missing, we can make sure the agency is aware and hopefully try to address it before anything becomes finalized. That is it for me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. This is our time for community concerns. And if you don't mind, I would like to go to Miss Pamela Hyler first because her hand has been up. Miss Hyler?
Gilmer.
Hi, actually, my hand should have been down. I was trying to take it down, but I don't have any concerns. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Anyone else? Okay. This is wonderful. All right, so Mr. Durant should be happy and not falling out of his chair because he kept us abreast of how much time was left. And actually, we have 3 minutes to spare, Mr. Durant. So
right.
you can get yourself together now.
Hey, keeping y'all honest and on time.
All right, so our next meeting will be held on May 26th at 6:30 p.m. and our meeting is adjourned. Peace out, you guys. It's been fantastic, and we got 3 minutes to spare.
That's right.
It's been great. God bless you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Take care now.